two favorite animals on top of my lap. Big slob over here. He's waiting for a treat, which I always have. There you go. He'll be back in a minute after he buries it. He might chew. Yeah, looks like he's going to chew it up this time. Welcome to Uncle Martin's Live. Today is going to be, I looked it up, October 5th, 2025. I got a good story for you. It's a true one, another true story. It's the first time that I went down the Grand Canyon. The first time I went down the Grand Canyon was in 1977, April. And it was to get there, to get to the Havasupai Fall trailhead going down, you have to get off of Route 66, I believe. And that's where the story begins. So Larry had his truck. And we had all our goodies in our backpack and enough food we were only going for four days. And at that time, you didn't have to have any kind of prearranged situation where they had to know you were coming. Because when you went down the 8-mile walk to the station that you would get your tickets of pass to pass through the Havasupai, well, you could stay there the night or keep going, but you had to pay a fee. I think the fee was like $36. Now it's like $400. Hey, how things rise up. So we're coming off of Route 66, getting on that dirt road. It's about 70 miles, I'm estimating, that you have to go drive on a dirt road to get to the parking area to go down Havasupai Trail. Now, I believe when we just came off the Route 66, there was this Indian fella, and he had he had like a poncho on. I'll show you someday. I wear ponchos. It goes with this hat. But he had this poncho, like and he had it over something. So it looked like he had, in my mind, I thought, well, I don't know, he had something underneath his poncho. But I said, hey, look, there's a guy hitchhiking. And then Larry says, well, I'm going to pick him up. I said, you pick him up? There's no room between us. He'll have to sit in the back of the truck. So when we pull up to the guy, we say, hey, didn't ask his name, just said, hey, where you going? And he says, I'm going to Havasupai Falls. And we said, hey, that's a coincidence. That's where we're going too. I said, so, get in the back, hop in the back, give you a ride down there. Now, we never asked him what he had under the poncho, didn't ask him his name. We were just giving the guy a ride. I want to make that perfectly clear, because as I get down to the story, I don't want any repercussions here because of what happened. Maybe that's why they got all these rules now, which I'll get into. This is all pretty interesting stuff right now, but I know, just hang in there. So we do the whole, this is April. It's about 3 in the afternoon, and in 1977. So we do the whole drive in, we park our vehicle. This fellow jumps out the back. He's gone, man. I don't even know where he went. I mean, we turned around and he was vanished. So we got our backpacks on and we went down. It's approximately 8 miles down this. It's rather steep. A lot of people take mules down or have their packs taken down with mules. We were in shape to do it ourselves. Okay. Hey, BXP. Hey, BXP. We're talking about the first time Uncle Martin went down the Grand Canyon, if you came in late. So we're going down the 8-mile stretch to the Havasupai Falls. Well, how it works is Empty One. What's up? Empty One. As I said, you missed it, but the first time Uncle Martin went down the Grand Canyon, that's where we're at. We'll bypass the little 8 mile trek down. So it's three in the afternoon. Now, by the time we get down to the bottom to Havasupai Falls, it's the station that you have to buy your tickets to be on the property. Hey, Empty One, yeah, liked and subscribed. You liked and subscribed. Bless your heart. If you have something to subscribe to, I will also. For anybody else who's watching, coming in late. So we got, hey, Gaming Official 9090. Yay, welcome. First time I went down the Grand Canyon. That's what we're talking about. So it's 3 in the afternoon. Now it's about sundown. We didn't know that the station that gives you the permits to go through their property was closed. In fact, that's when we ran into some Indians, and they said, "Hey, what's going on?" I said, "Well, we're not going to be." Well, we said, "Where should we go? Where should we stay?" And they said, "Well, if you stay here and you don't have a permit, there's a big fine." They were really upfront on this stuff. Okay, Uncle Martin's first time going down the Grand Canyon. That is actually, yes, BXP. This is true. And BXP. So, yeah, I didn't pin it yet because I'm still live. After I do this, I'll say first time down Grand Canyon. So, I don't know. We started talking to the Indians, the Havasupai Indians, very friendly folks down there. And I said, "Yay! Well, we're gonna. Is there a place where we can make a fire? We'll have some food, and then we don't want to get in trouble for being here without a permit. Where's a good place that we could go to?" They said, "Well, you can spend the night here, but you got to get out of here by morning." And I said, "Hey, that sounds pretty cool. Where can we go to where there's nobody's going to bother us?" They said, "You go down. Well, there's another 6 miles to Mooney Falls, another 6 miles to Beaver Falls. You could stay at Beaver Falls and nobody's going to bother you." This is 1977, by the way. Okay, pin it. Martha Rodriguez, Isabel Martin. Hey, you got the last name of my first name, Uncle Martin. Welcome. First time down the Grand Canyon. We're talking to the Havasupai Indians, and I said I was very grateful for this information. And then as we started talking, I said, "Hey," and I talked to these two guys, the two brothers, and I said, "Hey, you guys want to? There's a fire over there. I can cook up some food. Would you like to come up? Would you like to stay for dinner? Would you like to?" I said, "Would you like to come over for dinner?" They said, "Yes, we would." I said, "Okay," and they said, "We'll be about a half hour." And so, okay, so Larry and I have enough food probably for a week, all right? Because we'd like to think ahead. I had a cast iron skillet. I was a white man. I just carried all this stuff in my backpack. You're not supposed to go down with all this weight, by the way. So I'm cooking up some rice. I got, I don't know, vegetables going because I brought some fresh stuff for the first couple days. All of a sudden, like 28 Indians show up. Well, when you ask some people if they want to come over for dinner, the guy, he didn't bring the whole tribe, but there was a bunch of people now around us. It didn't bother me because, well, and by the way, things travel like wildfire down in a small community. And so I'm getting all the food. I didn't care. I cooked up all of our food in one night, by the way. Fed everybody. That was another. Okay, so I fed everybody. Now, during this course, we're passing around this, it's called, a peace pipe. They have peace pipes. And a peace pipe, by the way, is like about 6-7 foot long. That means one person can't light the end of it. Another person has to light it. That's the idea of a peace pipe. Plus what they were putting in it, as well as, what we had at the time, which I don't do anymore, but back in 77, I had some quality medicine. My point being, it's not necessary, by the way. So we're talking stories. They want to know what am I done and all that. I said, well, I was living with a shaman medicine. I was living with a shaman Yaqui medicine man at different times in caves and stuff, and we got along quite well. And I told them some stories about that. They love to hear those stories. Like if you ever go back to my live Yaqui Shaman Medicine Man, I highly recommend it because that'll give you an update on what I'm talking about. So they all love those stories that I told them. And then they started telling me stories about sacred areas, sacred lands, sacred places in the Grand Canyon that nobody's supposed to know about. And they're telling me stuff that's secrets. One was a guy from the Smithsonian Institute came down and he found in one of the caves, they found artifacts from the Vikings, the Egyptians, which had mummies and everything, and then stuff from India. And then as soon as the guy from the Smithsonian got all the goodies and stuff, or a lot of them, they blew up the entrance of this one cave. All right. And I thought, well, that's and I'm just thinking, I'm thinking these guys, have, they're telling me a story about Vikings and Egyptians and people from India, stuff. And I said, these guys are on a trip, man. But I was just open minded. I was just listening to their little stories. I wasn't saying nothing other than, that's quite interesting. And sorry, next. Okay, what are you saying, VX? I gotta put my glasses on. It's starting to get to where I gotta read something here to where it's okay. 100 proof bifocals. First microdot story next. First microdot story next. Well, there are stories on that too with the emerald tablets. If anybody wants to look that up, I'll have an episode on emerald tablets. Um, that is actually a microdot and 3D when they found these tablets that nobody can explain about these tablets because, well, they came from Atlantis. But that's another story. I can't go there. I'm on my first time down the Grand Canyon. You can't sway me from this story. It's very important and humorous and true. So anyway, we're about I don't know, halfway through dinner. Now the two brothers that I originally invited to dinner and they brought all their friends. The main guy says, the main brother says, "Hey, you gave Joey a ride here." I said, "Joey? I don't know no Joey." He said, "You picked up Joey." I said, "Well, we picked up a hitchhiker. I don't know what his name was. His name was Joey." I said, "Okay, Joey. Yeah." And he says, "Joey." Now this is where it gets touchy, guys, because you're not allowed to. you're not. The Indians in Havasupai are not allowed to drink alcohol. I never knew about that law. Let alone I didn't. We didn't know. We didn't know we were involved in this. Now, Joey had this big poncho over. I didn't know it was a case of Jack Daniels. Now, the brother with most experience says to me, "You gave Joey a ride." I said, "Yeah, I guess we gave the guy a ride." "Well, Joey had a case of Jack Daniels." I said, "Well, I don't care about that. Who cares?" He says, "Joey would have given you one if you asked, 'Do you have any alcohol?'" I said, "No, I don't even drink, man. We're doing the peace pipe. That's it, man." He says, "Yeah, but Joey would have given you a bottle if you asked." I said, "Yeah, but I don't drink." I couldn't get it. It was like the guy didn't believe me or something, but it got across to him that I wasn't interested in Joey's wear. So he was a bootlegger. Bootlegger. We brought in to the Grand Canyon in 1977. I didn't know that. And that's why probably the rules are a lot stricter now. The parking lot that we were at, that we just parked at up there to come down to the Havasu Pie, now there's people being checked to see if they have any alcohol. Now, I hope it wasn't anything that we did that started this in '77, but maybe not. I don't know. So we're getting pretty much done with our food, and what it comes down to is uh, they're telling us about all these stories, then other sacred areas that you gotta put your fingers and. When you go around the side of a mountain, you can just put your fingers and your toes to get around the side of the mountain, and then there's a cave that you get into, and it's a sacred cave, and they have rituals there. I'm thinking, hey man, I mean I love caves, but I'm not going around the side of a mountain putting my fingers in holes and my toes in holes to get to this cave. That's a little too extreme, Uncle Martin. But the funny thing is, the Larry that's with me now, he goes back at another time and brings my brother Dave, and they were looking for these caves and they almost died. But that would be another story. Some things are best left alone, and that's what I was feeling too. If it's sacred area and that's where they have stuff, um, I, I, I don't want to go there. All right, that's all. So now we're up in the morning. We go to uh, it's 6 miles to Mooney Falls. Mooney Falls is like over 200 feet. Mooney Falls is fantastic. Just Google Mooney Falls, Grand Canyon. You'll see the tropical blue water. Even Havasupai Falls has tropical. It's like the Canary Island water. It's like blue water. You never see, you ever think it's a mile down in the middle of the earth. So hey, there's things down there that there's nowhere else. That's what I'm saying. So we get to Mooney Falls. By the way, when we're going through Mooney Falls down the trail to get to Mooney Falls down there, hey, Angelic Air, coming in late, but this is the first time I went down the Grand Canyon. And I'm past all the Indians and all those stories that are fantastic. So now we're coming into going down steps through the cave area to get to the bottom of Mooney Falls. Now, I looked at this, well, since I went down there twice, I had the same conclusion. Well, the first time I saw it, it was like you got a butter knife that is hot, and you got some butter, and you're going through that butter with a hot knife and making steps. That's exactly. Hi, Skippy. How you doing, buddy boy? He's doing well. He's all muddy again on top of me. Oh, and there's another little slob waiting for his cookie. I'm not going to give him one right now. I'm in the middle of a story. Yeah, say hi. Okay, so if you could think of a hot knife or a laser would be perfect. A laser would be perfect because that's what it looked like. Somebody, some kind of tool that went ding, 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 steps all the way down. And there's no way. See, I looked at it. I like rocks, and I wondered how they could do this. And it was not a chisel and sledgehammer, chisel and hammer making these steps. It was too smooth. It was like solidified rock that was making steps down there. Now, how could that possibly be? Well, if you think about the stories that I just told you about how the Indians were telling me that in that one cave, that after the Smithsonian came in and left, taking all the goodies, well, not all of them, but a good majority of them, they said boxes and boxes and boxes of stuff was taken out of this cave. And then they blew up the entrance of this one cave. That means there's other caves. And I'll try to get into that if I can real fast. But why and how could something happen with steps being looking like a laser? Tell you how. We know Egypt now did have the capability of lasers, and they were able to cut into stone like we are now. because we can. There's stuff being done underground right now that they don't even use lasers now. It's all sonic stuff, and they just wipe. They make miles and miles like in one day. Yeah, that'd be another story. The government's just coming out and talking about this. If I don't know if you guys are up on this stuff, but yeah, there's secret bases all over the United States. There's a train system that goes up 3/4 of an inch, and it's Mach 5. So it goes from like California to New York or anywhere else on the planet in a very quick amount of time. So that's all coming out to fruition. You don't have to believe me, man. Just look into it. It's more information's coming out there, is all I'm saying. So if the Egyptians had this technology, and if the truth of these Indian stories were not only were the Vikings here, but the Egyptians and people from India were all at the bottom of the canyon at different time periods. Isn't it interesting? And that is why it's called the Forbidden Zone. I did an episode on it. Just look up Forbidden Zone that I have. I go into that in detail. But just to make it real quick for everybody, it's only up about 1,000 feet. As you go into the cave, this cave will hold over 50,000 people. And as you get into the cave, the first things you come across is Viking stuff. And then after the Viking stuff, you get mummies and all kinds of Egyptian stuff. And then after that, you get a Gautama Buddha kind of guy, or Lord Maitreya, or some Indian guy sitting in a lotus position, a real big stone carving from India up in this cave. Now it's called the Forbidden Zone because nobody can go in this cave. Well, the Indians were telling me about that one too. And I'm saying, blah, blah, blah. You guys are crazy. But then I started thinking about it. I'm starting to think about it. I was told in my fourth grade, in that crummy, stinking book, that Columbus rediscovered. No, I said Columbus rediscovered America because I had the stuff information. But then the teacher gave me a D- because remember the other three fourth grades, the same test. I had a B+, a B, and a B. Then when I get to her, the last fourth grade, I get a D- because I said he rediscovered America. Well, son of a gun, the Vikings were here first. We know that for a fact. So if they were here first, and they were set up for 500 years ago at Bernanke Bay in New Jersey, they went down to Grand Canyon too. And that's what I'm saying. This information that we're getting from history is a bunch of hoopla of lies. That's all I'm saying. Okay, important people. I missed a few things. Sorry, guys. Did you see this before or after the peace pipe? Haha. Yeah, funny guy, peace pipe smoker. I have had more control on anything than I've ever done in my life. And hallucinations, no, sorry, it wasn't there. In fact, I was telling my mind, I'm saying, these guys are they're crazy. There's no way I would believe that. But as I got more experience in life, I checked things out. And all the stuff they were saying is true. Just look up Happy Boy BXP. You look it up. Forbidden Zone in the Grand Canyon. You can't even get close to this cave now. There's people in black that'll stop you, let alone you can't have a drone. You can't have any surveillance. You can't even go around this area now. They've stopped everything. 77, you could have walked right up in there. In fact, I got videos on that. Okay, I've got one on TikTok. I'm going to bring it over, okay? Just so you guys know what I'm talking about. It's a perfect one. It's where the cave is, and it explains a lot of stuff I just did. You can't make this stuff up, by the way. You can try, but I like the peace pipe idea, though. No, it wasn't anything like that. Angelic Care. Apparently, after DXP, you love it. This is all true stuff, guys. I know you don't have to believe it or not, but just put it on a back shelf. Look into it yourself. That's the other thing. The Indians told me. Another cute little story. They said that there was red-haired giants that their ancestors lived with peaceably. Now, these guys were anywhere from 22 to 28 feet tall. Now, some people say that's big, but there's some We know that there's giants over 50 foot tall. If you look at the big footprint in Africa, just look up that one. Bet me on this. The big footprint in Africa, it's a left footprint of a female. She had to be at least 50 foot tall, all right? I kid you not. They still got it up, so check it out, man. Um, okay, the sword, just watching. This is the first time down the Grand Canyon. I'm talking about everybody about the. Well, right now we're talking about the giants that they told me about that were anywhere from 18 to 22 feet, and that they were going to show me this footy prints. It was in sandstone, and it wasn't just big footprints, it was little baby footprints. So it was a whole family that was walking around on the sandstone that got cauterized into the sandstone, all right? Okay, BXP, you're finally coming around. Yes, it is crazy that the government has buried the Grand Canyon zones. It's nuts. Do you know why they're doing it? Because they'd have to rewrite history. They'd have to totally. We're coming into Columbus Day again. It's not Leif Erikson Day. It's not. It's not no Viking Day. It's Christopher Columbus. They keep pummeling this lies at us that it's really just. It's very disappointing, to say the least. It's like, okay, you ask why. I've had this. Why would the government ever do that? Because knowledge is power. The more knowledge you have, the more power you have, the more discernment you get. They don't want you to have power, knowledge, discernment. They don't want any of that stuff. That's why they give you a lot of nothing. Went inside, and it was internally an elevator, and made feet below, and there's bizarre. I can't scroll down, can I? Can I? Yes, I can. Angelic. And in Utah, he was in a field with a motor home that you went inside, and it was instantly in an elevator too many feet below the earth. Bizarre. Yeah, these are elevators that go straight down into these areas that take you on a ride on a train that goes Mach 5. Yeah, 3/4 inch off the rail. So it's a hot rail. I know it's a hot rail because I worked on a railroad. There was a hot rail, but it'd be another story. And that was back in the 70s too. I believe there was more to the human story than is told. Yeah, BXP, that's what I'm saying. There's more stories to the truth here. That's why it takes us to start deciphering and determining fact from fiction. And there's going to be a lot of naysayers saying, oh no, it doesn't exist. But there's too much information coming out. I just put a post up today on I can't remember her name right off, but I've watched her for over 30 years. She deals with UFOs. And just look at the last thing I did on, we're intergalactic. We're intergalactic. Yes, we are intergalactic now. We've gone out galaxies. We've gone out 8 to 11 light years since 1947, since Eisenhower. All this stuff is coming up to fruition. Oil is like truth. Eventually it rises to the top. And now the truth is coming to the top. You can't hold it back anymore. We have been left in the dark because, again, it's very negative, that's all. And now the people are starting to hear things and know things, and you can't keep it hidden anymore. That's all. There's nothing new about it. It's bound to happen. It has to happen. Okay, so just getting back to this little goofy story that's true. So we get down to after the laser stuff on the steps, I swim out to the falls. It's really rough, and there's a rock out there, which I stand on. But the second time I went out there, I brought my little Shih Tzu with me, and I had him on my shoulder, and I got the picture. So I think tomorrow I'll do the second time I went down the Grand Canyon. If I'm doing one, I might as well go the second episode too. So didn't have Jasper with me then. So it was just something refreshing to do before we went down. As the Indians said, you will not be bothered at Beaver Falls. So we've already eaten pretty much all our food. I think all I got left is a lemon, a handful of rice, little black pepper, a big heavy cast iron skillet with nothing really to put in it. because we ate all our food the first night with the Indians. So we get down to Beaver Falls. Now, the first day I'm there, I said, "Oh, Larry, I'm going to go see if I can catch some fish." And I had like 6 pound test, and I had about 6 hooks. It was like trout hooks, and I didn't have any bait. I didn't have any bait. That's some child, hopefully having a good time. So we have he's late. He's late. He's doing his moccasins. He's lacing up moccasins. He was doing that for like days. The last days we were there, he was trying to put moccasins together, which he did. So I get down to the it's crystal clear water, by the way, and I see all these trout, rainbow trout, but they weren't rainbow. They were pink trout. I never saw a pink trout before. So I get pretty excited. I throw I sit up on the side of the rock, and I put I think it was a grasshopper. I found a grasshopper, so I put a grasshopper on, and I threw it out there. And son of a gun, I got hit on it, and I pulled it up. I didn't have a stick or anything. It was like this. It was only like about 14 foot of line that I had that I brought. It was just like for an emergency, just in case there was some fish. I'm a fisherman, so it was going right through my hand, but I was able to hold on to it enough, and pull it in to where I pulled it up on the rock. As I pulled it up out of it had to be at least 2 pounds. It was gigantic, and as he comes up, he hits the rock, and I grab him. But it's like that story that you grab a fish and it jumps out of your hand. He got right out of my hand, and he goes back into the water. I said, "Hey, no problem. I got more grasshoppers here, let alone we got like 3 days to go. There's no problem here." The fish, that fish that got away, had to have told the rest of the fish to stay away from grasshoppers or to stay away from Uncle Martin, because they could see me as I could see them. These fish were very smart. Fish have intelligence, especially when he gets out of my hand, hits the rock, goes back in. I know he told the story of some crazy human outside that was trying to get him. So I tried fishing. They wouldn't even bite anything. They wouldn't even bite. So I figured this is now going on the second day. The second day. Did somebody agrees with me or not? I don't know. Who is that? Some next door neighbor. So I made a stick, and I sharpened it up with my knife, which I made out of a leaf spring of a car. I'll go into that some other time. I make knives. I throw them. I do a lot of things, but anyway, I made a bigger than a Bowie knife. It was sharp as ever because it was out of a leaf spring of a car. It's tempered steel. It was very sharp. So I carved up a stick, really pointy, and I could see under the water. So as I was going to go jab this one big pink trout. See, my little pinky was out while I had my spear, and I was about ready to spear him. There was another fish that came and bit my finger and drew blood. He bit into my finger, and he had teeth. I didn't know they had teeth. He drew blood on my finger, and I said, "What are these piranhas?" So I got out of the water. I had no intention of going back in that water trying to stab him, let alone, I'm thinking these are very intelligent fish. So now we're on our, by the way, Larry and I were walking around, we're trekking all over the place. We found the grapevines and all that. They weren't even ready to eat or anything, so we weren't really eating anything. We're just traveling up and down the whole path. We didn't go the other 6 miles to the Colorado River, but that would be on the second story that I tell you. So we were just kind of staying within a few mile radius of our campsite. But when you're doing this a mile down in the earth, you get kind of, fatigued because you're not eating anything. In fact, we weren't really drinking any water. I guess we filled up our canteen. There's only one place to fill up your canteen, by the way. It's back at Havasupai Falls. It's out of a little pipe that comes down from like a mile high or something. And they say it's fresh water. It's the only fresh water there. Oh, isn't that nice? And because the rest of the waters have E. coli in it. So just a word to the wise, you don't want to drink the water. And they even told me that, and I said, no, no way I'm drinking E. coli water. So we filled up our like 2 gallons of water. So we were getting kind of low on water, no food. So it was pretty much a 3-day fast we were doing. And came down to, I only, and they kept, when I was catching some kind of fish, they were snapping my line. So I had like 1.5 foot of line that I couldn't even, get close to the fish anymore. So I said, Larry, I think I can catch a fish because all we had left was, I only had, that's what I forgot to tell you, I only had one hook left. They were, the trout hooks that I had, they were trout hooks, and they were making them straight. They were, they were straightening out my trout hooks. These are the most strongest. I've fished from Jersey to Florida to everywhere with trout, and they've never straightened my hooks, let alone broke my line like they did. So when I went back to Larry, I said, I got one hook left. I know you're doing a thing. You've got wax thread that you're doing your moccasins with. Let me have some. He says, I only got about 22 inches here. I said, I want it. Cut it, and I know I can catch a fish. So what I did was I went back and I mulched some. There was, I think I had like somewhere in my bag half of a berry, trout berries, the little red berries. I had some of that, and I had some bugs, and I kind of squished it together like in a little ball, and I put it on the hook, and I threw it out there, and son of a gun, they got one. I got him. I got the fish. So this time when he came up on the rock, I grabbed him, and he wasn't going anywhere. So I come back with a fish, and it's like at least 2 pounds. So that's what I did. That's all we had left was half a lemon, a little pepper. I think I might have had some olive oil, just a little bit of olive oil. And so we fried it all up and pulled the bone right out. We shared that fish, and it was the best succulent fish and it was pink. It didn't change color. It was a pink rainbow trout. Yeah, it's kind of amazing that everything down in the Grand Canyon is different. It's a different world down there. Um, so that was enough food sustenance for us to get the heck out of town, because it was like, geez, if you add it up, it was like from Beaver Falls, it's 6 miles to Mooney Falls, another 6 miles to Havasupai Falls, so that's 12 miles, and then it's another 8 miles. It was been 20 miles. We had to go 20 miles to get out of this place, a mile down in the earth, and we were running out of energy. We weren't going anywhere. We were just like, well, we were moving, but not so fast. So what it comes down to is Theo, or the earliest in the American, they say. Okay, BPX, what are you saying? Apparently the Paleo are the earliest in the American, they say. I believe possibly, but I understand that the Algonquins go back 40,000 years. So I don't know the time period that you're talking about, this tribe of Indians. I don't know. But 40,000 years ago, they are definitely coming from Atlantis. There was 3 waves of Atlanteans that came over. They had 3 cataclysms in Atlantis. The first one kind of shook people up. They started coming to America. The second one definitely shook a lot of them up, and that's where you find pyramids all over the United States, under mounds, all over the different countries. That now a lot of jungles are around, and everybody that's finding these things, they're closing them down. You can't go into them. Why would that be? Well, that would be another story. Okay, the sword. Hey, sword and stuff. You're cool. You like that cool, huh? Sword. I heard a fish scream. Yes, I've heard them scream too. This wasn't the one screaming. He was kind of close-lipped. Hey, the sword. You love my stories. I don't know if you joined the club. You join mine, I'll join yours if you got one. If not, check out more stuff. Leave me a comment. I don't care. I am concerned. So we have enough energy to get out of the place. And this is the kind of the, I mean, this whole story is cool, but this is even okay. This is kind of cooler because now we're leaving at sunset. So nobody got us for coming or going with they had 36 bucks that they probably would have wanted from us. But we weren't on the Havasupai land. We were, well, now Beaver Falls is Havasupai land, but not in 1977. So as we're walking by, all the Indians that we had dinner with said, and we said, we'll be back in 7 months, because this was April, and we said we'll be back in November because it was too hot down there. It was so hot. We had sleeping bags, and you slept on top of your sleeping bags. You don't believe how hot it is down the bottom of Grand Canyon. We said, well, next time we come down, it's gonna be November. And by the way, November is they're closed now in the Grand Canyon. You couldn't go back down in November, but we could because it was 1977. But that'll be part two. So that's part one, that we're leaving the trailhead to go out. So as we get probably about a mile or two off to the right, there's a cave. Now there's just a silhouette of two individuals, two Indians, and they're kind of how the glowing of a campfire is, and inside of a cave. So you can see the shadows on the wall, and you see these two Indians, one looking that way, one looking that way. They're looking at each other, and they're just like in coals, the coals of the fire. There's no fire. So as me being me, I said, hey brothers, put some wood on that fire and you'll be able to see better. And know what they said? I think it sounded like they might have got a hold of one of Joey's bottles. Jack Daniels. Because they said, no, scorpions. I said, scorpions? Yes, scorpions. I said, yeah, these guys, they've enjoyed Jack here. To Larry, I said, this is ridiculous, scorpions. So anyway, we get about another mile or two down. So we're about 3 miles in, and I'm figuring, hey, I think it's time we sit down and take a little rest, because we still got like another 5 miles to go. And we still got some heavy packs because I had loaded them up with the rocks. Not even half as much as I did the second time. But this time I must have had at least a 30-pound backpack trying to get up this hill of 8 miles. So we put our flashlights down to sit down. And there's scorpions all around our feet. There's these, and I know, okay, there's 3 kinds of scorpions at the bottom of the Grand Canyon. There's the hairy scorpion. There's the red line scorpion, and then there's the most dangerous, the yellow bark scorpion. That's the one I've been finding in my bathtub and on my walls here at my house. I got little shorts on that if you want to check out what a bark scorpion looks like. So when I'm looking down, I'm saying these yellow ones, because I remember, because Mom got bit by one, and I said, hey, these are the yellow ones. I didn't know the name of them at the time. I just said, these are the yellow ones. These are the ones that are very dangerous. And Larry says, yes, I know. So I said, yeah, we'll keep on going. So it kept this is like in April. And by the way, I had to look this up. April to October, they flourish down at the bottom of the Grand. They're nocturnal, so you don't see them during the day, but you will at nighttime. So here, every time we were going to sit down, these doggone yellow scorpions were all around our feet. I'm saying, they wouldn't let us sit down, so we couldn't rest. We had to keep going. So as we get, I think it was like maybe a quarter mile on the trail, because it's kind of a small trail that you follow on out. Sandy and everything else, but some slippery parts. And the point being is, about a quarter of a mile down the road, we hear this, oh, and I'm thinking, what is going on here, man? Because it's echoing through the canyon. And Larry says, I don't know, but it doesn't sound positive. But I said, but it sounds like we've got to go toward that direction following this trail, which we did. So we finally get up there, and we keep hearing, oh. And who is it? I forgot to mention this. It was Big Jim. Big Jim he's part of our party that sat down the first night and ate a lot of food. He ate a lot more than the rest. Big Jim had to be close to 7 foot. I kid you not. He was over 6 foot, 6'5". My Uncle Bo was 6'5". This guy was another 5 inches. This guy was 7 foot. The biggest Indian ever. That's why they call him Big Jim. So he's laying down right in the middle of the path. I'm talking about he's on the path. His feet are off the path. His head is off the path. And we got to go. We got to walk around him. And I didn't feel positive with this because I didn't want to scare him and jump him up or oh, he's like, eh. We went around him. It did not occur to me until like years later when I assessed what all that. Oh, he was getting bit by these scorpions. He had got a hold of one of Joey's bottles and probably passed out on the trail there. And maybe he couldn't get up or something. Maybe now that I'm thinking about it, maybe we could have given him a hand. But I don't know. I've had issues with some Indians when they get inebriated. You probably want to leave them alone rather than a lot of them want to fight. That'll be episode 2. I got the second time I went down the Grand Canyon. That'll be tomorrow. But right now, we weren't going to help Big Jim because we didn't know him well enough to like say, hey, you want to do, and then he gets up and starts beating us up. This guy was 7 foot, man. He was a giant almost, right? So I'm just saying, we went around. I went around his head. Larry went around his feet. So we get out of the place and we get up, and it's all fantastic. We were able to get to our truck. Okay. Hey, BPX, didn't want to get scalped. I would have done the same. No, BPX, this part 2 it'll hit home because you'll understand what I'm talking about. They have tribal fights within themselves, and a white man was not even part of the family. So what would happen to us? That's what I'm saying. But that'll be part 2 tomorrow. So right now, anybody that's been lasting this long, God bless you. Give me a thumbs up. Give me a thumbs down. I can't get any of these questions once I post it for God only knows the reason. So wait about 12, 13 hours before you watch this. That way I'll get some credit to it. I know it shows that maybe I have hundreds of people watching and all that, but this stupid YouTube doesn't give me credit, or it does give me credit, but maybe they sift through the bots and stuff. I still can't figure out why I don't have the amount of people that I should have after it's posted. That's all. They'll show me how many hours. I'll have like a couple of hours of people watching, but then after 12, 13 hours, zip, nothing. There's 0 on there. There's no time watched. How does this happen? Does anybody know? Leave me a comment. I'm new at this live stuff. I've been only doing it about a month, and I'm trying to get it together to where I can at least see you guys and comment more on you. So anything you come across, any of my episodes, just give me a question from your heart. I'll answer it if I can. And I don't know, again, thumbs up, thumbs down. You want to join my club, which is subscribing, I'll subscribe to you. That's the Law of the West, and I have an episode on that. So until tomorrow, 5 o'clock, it'll be Monday the 6th of October, and it'll be the second time Uncle Martin went down the Grand Canyon. And I got even some more interesting stories for you. Okay. Till tomorrow, be well, God victory, and take care. Stay safe.